Hello, welcome to Outside Xbox. You're watching a weekly show I like to call Show of the Week.
I like to call it that as well. This week we're talking the Bureau, XCOM Declassified. The XCOM shooter so good, they had to name it twice.
And you came for XCOM, but stay for the comments. Jane will be rounding up the best, worst and weirdest of the week's YouTube comments over in Outside Xbox Studio 2.
What, the kitchen?
Yes, the kitchen.
This week I've been using the incredible gift of superpowers to defraud insurance companies in Saints Row 4.
Oh man.
Just cartwheeling into the sky.
I'm getting some serious height here.
You're almost a kilometre away and we started in exactly the same place.
I've cartwheeled a kilometre down the street.
While video producer James learned the first rule of the zombie apocalypse in State of Decay: never leave the pizza delivery car.
Pizza car, help me! No!
Or the car in general.
And you? Oh!
Whoa, what's that? There it is again. What is it?
It's old public domain footage from a UFO movie.
Is it, though, or is it an actual UFO outside the studio and evidence of a government cover-up suppressing the fact that extraterrestrials are all among us?
Whoa, that's not public domain, you can't use that.
Oh, how about this?
I saw a flying saucer. Oh, it burns me up. These things have been seen for years. They're here, it's a fact. And the public ought to know about it.
Yes, the public ought to know about it, seeing as it's been in development since 2006. That said, those 7 years of development saw it change its name, development team, and even genre, so you'd be forgiven for being confused. But more on that later. What we have now is the Bureau XCOM Declassified, a third-person XCOM game that takes the XCOM Alien Defense Agency back to its 1960s roots, to when everyone wore hats and ate bowls of Marlboro Reds drenched in scotch for breakfast.
It should be clear that you've been carefully selected for this project because you are unlike the rest of your peers.
You control XCOM's William Carter, a world-weary field agent who looks like he's just come third in a Don Draper lookalike contest. Carter's job is to shoot aliens, a job you'll be helped with by two squad mates who you can order around the battlefield in the Bureau's new Battle Focus mode.
Get down! On the move!
Similar to Mass Effect's squad commands, Battle Focus slows time while you choose tactics for your team on the fly. Slows time but doesn't stop it, so you're going to have to make some pretty quick decisions if you don't want your team getting murdered by aliens. And in true XCOM fashion, once they're dead, they're dead. I don't care how attached you are to Demetrius Bryant. New agent recruits are picked up back at HQ and customised as you go, although there are no female agents to be recruited in this XCOM because it's the 1960s, and women weren't invented until 1972.
Enemies spotted. Get ready, they're near.
It's a departure from classic turn-based isometric XCOM gameplay as seen in last year's excellent XCOM Enemy Unknown, but it retains some of the satisfying tactical nuances of an XCOM game while ratcheting up the excitement by placing you right in the heart of the action.
We got hostiles!
The worry though is that you'll spend so much of your time in treacle-slow battle focus mode that you'll get neither the punchy action of a shooter nor the chess-like challenge of a turn-based game. But from what we've played so far, the Bureau manages to squeeze a good deal of XCOM's top-down tactical feel into a squad-based shooter, and we're a sucker for that retro styling too, gets us every time. What do you think, public domain footage man?
Holy mackerel.
And then the Roswell Greys are in league with the Scientologists, which the FBI knows all about, but they can't do anything because of Tom Cruise, who's actually a robot.
Whoa. What's that?
Oh god, I've said too much, they're onto me. Jane, help!
See ya.
Trouble?
Take a look for yourself.
Is that public domain footage?
It better be, we've used it like 6 times. I mean, real actual UFOs like in the Bureau XCOM Declassified.
Oh, you mean the game formerly known as XCOM and formerly a first-person shooter?
You don't say.
I do say. It's the secret history of the Bureau XCOM Declassified.
My friend, we cannot keep this a secret any longer.
Okay, the history of the Bureau isn't so much a secret as mostly a matter of public record, but we like to pretend it's been hushed up because that would make us daring investigators of conspiracy, exposing the truth that the man doesn't want you to know. The actual truth is the man, or in this case producer Nico from 2K Games, is reasonably upfront about the protracted development process. The game we now know as the Bureau began life in 2006 when Irrational, the same studio that made Bioshock, began recruiting for a rumoured XCOM project. Much of this early history is lost to the ages, but this prototype character model suggested a dramatically different setting and aesthetic, something like cartoony steampunk.
What is causing the attacks for this strange phenomenon is yet unknown. Indeed, there is debate whether the two things are related.
It wasn't until 2010 that the game was given a public airing with this trailer. By then, the game was attached not to Irrational, but to 2K Marin, the studio behind Bioshock 2. It was called simply XCOM, and it was a first-person shooter, controversial for a series that won our hearts with strategy games. The aliens looked like angry clouds of oil, but the setting was early 60s USA, though more cartoony than that of the Bureau, and at the same time with more of a horror vibe. In that 2010 trailer, we also had our first sighting of the monolithic Titan UFO. That flying alien skyscraper returned when XCOM surfaced again in 2011. The game presented in 2011 was still an FPS, but had added Tactical View, a mode that popped you out into third-person perspective and slowed down time to let you give commands to your two fellow agents. Senior producer Nico Bahari says this was when today's game really began to take shape.
You know, the pillars of battle focus, which you saw a little bit today, were still in their incubation period, known as TAC mode. So what you saw in 2011, I think, is probably the closest relevant point, which is this more investigative first-person view that when you engaged in enemy combat would turn into a third-person tactical shooter.
He says the development team liked tactical mode so much they took it and ran with it and wound up with the Bureau.
We identified that pretty early on as something fun that we wanted to refine, and it quickly became sort of like the center of our game in a tactical third-person squad-based shooter.
Back in 2011, XCOM also had the beginnings of the Bureau system for capturing, using and researching alien weapon technology as we see here. It was supposed to come out in 2011, but didn't. Then in 2012, but didn't. In 2013, though, that's this year, it was re-revealed as the Bureau XCOM Declassified. Oh, and there was that Titan again. And now here we are with the Bureau out next month. It's at the same time both similar and completely different to the game we first saw in 2010, but it's the things that have remained constant. Aliens, 60s G-men, ray guns and flying saucers that got our attention in the first place. So ends our confidential dossier on the Bureau XCOM Declassified. The truth was out there, we would tell you, if that weren't perilously close to something trademarked by a popular science fiction TV show.
It's time for the comments, when we share the comments posted on Outside Xbox Stuff from this week, so you don't have to scroll down the internet and read them for yourself.
Saving you literally pennies on wear and tear on your mouse's scroll wheel. Firstly, comments from last week's show about the Elder Scrolls Online. Cow-themed pro wrestler The Undertaker says, "Bah! If it does not have randomly generated dungeons and topless priestesses like Elder Scrolls Daggerfall, I am not interested. That said, I will go for a wander around Tamriel, but not much more."
Maybe he'll find some topless priestesses after all. Meanwhile, Gorilladin was more interested in your dancing, Mike. He or she says, "Scrap next week's show of the week. Just show us 15 minutes of Mike's Napoleon dance, please."
I think that can be arranged. No? Not doing it for you?
And then there was this week's video diary from State of Decay featuring video producer James. On the overpoweredness of cars, Van Devious says, "I think the game needs a bigger penalty for driving around in a car. One guy near the start makes a big fuss about how it attracts zombies, but there's no noticeable difference, I don't think. I completed the game going door to door with the loudest car there and didn't feel it affected anything."
Commenter Nexons, meanwhile, adds only, "Shoot your own tyre out at 1303. Nice one."
I think we got a clip.
Out of ammo. Come on.
Their one weakness. Finally, on our DuckTales video, Andy and I got confused as to the parentage of Huey, Dewey and Louie.
Are Huey, Louie and Dewey Donald and Daisy Duck's kids? No.
Metallic Orphan has the answer. They are Donald's sister's kids. I saw the first cartoon they were in, they turn up with a note, Della Duck being Donald's sister. Well, Ben Borthwick says, "I'm not sure on how appropriate it is for Scrooge to be raising his relatives' kids by taking them into long forgotten and often dangerous tombs around the world."
He's the richest duck in the world. He can do what he wants.
Huey! Dewey! Louie!
Could cover that up easily. Bribe a coroner, no problem.
Keeping it light. Back You Dog says, no, no, no! Just watch the video and now that damn tune is stuck in my head again. Grr, curse you, outside Xbox!
Oh, you mean this theme tune? Oh, sorry.
I could do a dance if it helps.
That's your answer to everything. Hey, look over there!
Oh god, they're on to me again, Andy!
And that's it for another week, but don't forget to subscribe to Outside Xbox on YouTube for daily game videos a bit like this one.
So that's it from me, Mike.
And me, Andy.
And him, Public Domain Footage Man.
Future events such as these will affect you in the future.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.